Let's get to my next guest. In 2020, she became the first black woman and first WNBA player to host a national radio show for ESPN. Now, one could easily argue she's one of the best analysts in America. She's my little big sister. She is absolutely phenomenal, and I am proud and happy to have her on this show for the first time. The one and only Chiney Ogwumike of ESPN. What's going on, girl? How you doing?
What's good, Stephen A? I've been a fan of your show, and I'm glad to finally be here. And I do also like that you call me Little Big Sis, because I am taller than you.
So you got to remind the audience.
Even when I wear heels.
You got to remind the audience
let everyone know. But I've got a compliment coming.
Okay.
I really like the tracksuit.
Well, thank you.
This is the best I've ever seen you look. And I have noticed the new suits on First Take. So you've been. What is it? Look good, feel good, play good. I see you, Stephen A.
Yeah, Ryan Clark been talking a lot of junk about he's going to be the best dressed. That brother lying to America. He lying to America. But we'll deal with that another day. For right now, let's talk about you for a second. I want to get away from the NBA and get into you for just a second. Coming into this industry, when you first arrived, I wanted to know what your goals were. And as we sit up here and reflect on International Women's Day and what it all means, how do you feel about where your career is now with all that you've accomplished?
Well, this is kind of wild because I know it's International Women's Day, but I actually have a story about how I got into the industry, and it involves you, which is wild. You don't know this. So I played for the Connecticut Sun. I was drafted #1 overall to the Connecticut Sun, and early in my pro career, I got injured. And so in that time, I started doing, random reps at ESPN, and it was a really great opportunity for me. But I realized that if I wanted to make waves in this industry, you need to do more, right? But then I go back to the W and I get hurt again. Now, this time when I get hurt again, I started watching in the mornings. I'd watch CNN for the news, and then I'd watch you on First Take. And I loved it. I loved the show, and I never knew in my wildest dreams by, using my voice and my perspective as a current athlete, getting those opportunities by nature of being in Connecticut, that a year later, I would have my first opportunity after 2 devastating injuries to debate you. And that's why I'm grateful for you, because it's International Women's Day, but we need great allies. And I don't think you ever knew that before I even stepped at your table, at your desk, I was watching you in some of my hardest moments, and I really admired all that you have done. And I never thought in my wildest dream that I would be able to be an analyst. Like, I thought I was going to be ball is life, all those type of things. But that's why I say never, ever discount or discredit yourself and the validity of your dreams, because you never know what's possible when you say yes.
Ain't that a miracle? Because here's the deal. You've gone from aspiring to be an analyst to scaring the living hell out of analysts who have to look forward to debating you. So, I mean, this is unbelievable. It's a great accomplishment on your part. But I've got to ask, as a woman coming into this industry, what challenges did you anticipate you would have to confront and ultimately overcome in order to be defined as a success in this industry as a woman?
I will tell you this, Stephen A. They see you before they hear you. They judge you before they know you. That's what it's like to be a woman in this industry. And I remember when I was starting off at ESPN, people don't know I was there since 2015, and I'm actually the first current professional athlete to do it simultaneously, play and then also be an analyst. Soon thereafter came Draymond and Candace Parker and a number of others, which is beautiful. But at the time that I stepped up, I remember the first few hits I did as an NBA analyst in SportsCenter. I would take the earliest assignments. I would take the latest assignments, the ones that a lot of people would probably look past. And I would go on there and I gave my opinion, and I also grounded it in facts. And I realized that, you know what, even though I know the game at the highest levels, both the WNBA and then also a student of the NBA, watching it and observing it and seeing all of my contemporaries play, people still questioned. And that's why whenever we debate, Stephen A., I always rely on the numbers. Now, I don't want to completely immerse myself in the numbers and the analytics because I have a perspective as a player. But the truth of the matter is that I learned that when I sat at that desk, no matter what I said, people would be like, just because I'm a woman speaking on a man's game on the NBA. But the coolest part is, when I started off, Stephen A., everyone would say, oh, that girl that is, the WNBA player that talks. Then it shifted to, oh, that player from the Sparks that talks. Then it said, Chiney. Now when I go places, people say Chiney Ogwumike. And it's been beautiful the last few years. It feels like winning hearts and minds, even though we should have a level playing field from the jump. It's been a cool process to see, like, I go places and they're like, Chiney, keep giving Stephen A. hell. Chiney, go tell Kendrick Perkins this. Chiney, go tell Richard Jefferson that. I love being that portable guy. Say like, oh, while those guys are giving you opinions, Chiney, I feel like you're giving us facts. And as a woman, you have to be centered on facts because those are irrefutable, even though our opinions should be too.
I'm getting to the point where, damn it, I hate talking about the NBA without you. I really do. I mean, I love you on TV with me all the time now. I'm like, let's go. I mean, they gonna get on me about something. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm just wondering, looking at the elevation of women's basketball, not just on a pro level, but on a collegiate level, particularly with a Caitlin Clark and what she's been able to accomplish, Dawn Staley and what she's accomplished at the University of South Carolina, LSU and what they accomplished last year, et cetera, et cetera. I'm kind of wondering, who's more responsible for what? Is it college and the WNBA game responsible to some degree for elevating the Chiney Ogwumikes of the world? Or is it you responsible for assisting in elevating their profile? Which one do you think it is?
I think everyone in the WNBA, every women's basketball athlete understands that a rising tide lifts all boats. We don't have the luxury to say we just play for the money. Like maybe now, especially with the bags that we're getting, cool. But before, all 27 or 28 prior seasons of the WNBA, we're playing for legacy. We're playing because we know that the standard of excellence is what will bring fans to our game. Now, the difference is that we now have the authentic power to tell our own stories. For so long, I think when people looked at women's basketball, they would put us in a box and say, like, we think that this will market the game. We think that this will take the game to the next level. Well, guess what? It's the actual play of our players. It's the play of the Asia Wilsons. It's the play of the Sabrina Ionescu's. It's the play of the, you know how to throw my sister in there, the Nneka Ogwumikes, right?
That's right?
It's the play of the Caitlin Clarks, the Angel Reeses, the Juju Watkins that people relate to the most. Not the packaging, it's the play. And so I'd say every person that picks up a ball that happens to be a woman that contributes to our game is moving the tide forward. Now, we do have the ability to watch in real time a transcendent talent in Caitlin Clark, but I will tell you this. A lot of people are saying, is she the most important person in college hoops or in hoops overall? I understand the arguments based off of what she has done for the game as it is currently, but I will say this. There are a lot of women like Asia Wilson. Like, we can say she's the future face, but right now, Asia Wilson is the current face. Two-time MVP, two-time champ. And, like, it's just interesting when you hear people say, like, other people get shoes before her. Like, there's still a lot of work that we have to do to make sure that what we're amplifying is the truth as it is authentically on the court. But Caitlin, when she enters, and if she's able to continue upon this hype and deliver it through her play, she will have a lot to say about the professional ranks in the state of women's basketball overall. I will not give one person the crown, or should I say the tiara on the women's side.
Yeah, right.
But I do think that there's so many women that are doing great work. I always say what's hidden in the dark will come to light. People will see soon all of the, like, through Caitlin Clark, we got to talk about Lynette Woodard, Pearl Moore, Cheryl Miller, and so many others. That's the beauty of our game. It's not just one person. It's being able to make sure we shine a light on the true stories. You nailed it. A lot of people think it's just Iowa and the field. That's not true. South Carolina, undefeated, only team, men's or women's, to go undefeated this year. You've got so many teams. The Pac-12 is super, deep. You've got LSU knocking on the door. So there's so many great stories in the women's game. And I think because Caitlin has achieved so much, you feel like that's the only thing. Ooh, if that's the case, then you have to take those, filters off of your timeline and see the truth.
How concerned were you about the sport itself and about women overall, again, today's International Women's Day, when the noise about Caitlin Clark coming out of college, entering the WNBA, what she was going to do, with Cheryl Swoops and others questioning how great or how effective she would ultimately be? I'm not talking about those comments. I'm talking about how it was received by certain portions of the populace. I was wondering whether or not you all were concerned as to whether or not that would hurt the game and how it was evolving and elevating in the mind's eyes of folks, just because people were talking about that story instead of really appreciating the fact that some more additional attention was going to be brought to the women's game. What were your concerns, if any at all, over that particular incident?
You know what's crazy, Stephen A? A lot of people see me put together, but I got some hot takes. I got some crazy thoughts. And I actually thought that situation between Cheryl Swoops and Caitlin Clark was good for the game, because it had an opportunity for me to say, why can't we normalize our legends having opinions? When we talk about the NBA, a lot of the legends say this or that about X, Y, or Z players. And that is one of the best things about the NBA. There's so many different entry points of conversation. Now, Cheryl Swoops, of course, was wrong to some degree. Caitlin Clark is a 4-year player, and she only shoots the ball 20 points per game, 20 times a game, right? That's the truth. But overall, I like that we have platforms where we can have, our legends interacting. I'm very close to Lisa Leslie. She is a mentor. She's like a big sis to me, and she's done a lot of great broadcasting work, I think, on CBS with We Need to Talk, and she has opinions. I'm just glad for those opinions to be amplified, but we need those opinions to be right. And so I think that's why she went and reached out to Caitlin and Angel to have, some kind of reconciliation on her own time. But I think overall, it's good for the game for our legends to have an opinion. Now, what she was alluding to that people don't really want to talk about is we have seen in the WNBA that posts tend to have an easier time. And I wouldn't say easy because it's a hard job to be one of the 144. Posts tend to translate quicker. Look at how Aaliyah Boston was super successful in her rookie year. I mean, not to throw anything on me, but I won Rookie of the Year as a post player. Post players can go out there and get you some buckets quite easily, but guards have to adjust a little bit more when it comes to the professional level. You can ask Sabrina Ionescu, you can ask Skylar Diggins what that transition is like. And I think that's what she was speaking to, but it was just done through some misinformation along the way. But overall, I love us being more interactive and having our legends having a voice, because that's the way the game should be.
I think in a crazy kind of way, the men are in trouble in this regard. The NBA will always be the NBA, and it will always have its audience as well as it should, because these male athletes are absolutely phenomenal in their own right. But there's a difference between being phenomenal and marketable because of your on-court performance, but then being able to extend off the court and be that role model that is deemed reliable. The LeBron James and Steph Currys of the world have been models of consistency, not just with their play on the court, but their character. Others have left room for doubt from time to time. You don't find that to be the case with the females. And I think when you look at the females, they're going to be increasingly more marketable. And that is what I'm noticing about WNBA players, these college players coming out, analysts like yourself and others, because I personally think that, as a female, you're one of the best in the business. You will always have my support. I'm looking at stuff like that, and I'm wondering, how do you feel about the marketability of the female athlete, even compared to the males, as we move forward?
I think there are two things that have really helped women's basketball marketability maybe in the last decade. One is social media, the advent of social media. For a long time, and I'm speaking through the lens of the WNBA, they've been trying to solve the what makes us as a product better, type of situation. And they're like, oh, let's make them more palatable, like we're going to church. Let's put them in very simple situations and try to make it the family-friendly league, which is fine. We are still family-friendly, but at the end of the day, social media is where we got to show our own individualism. And so we realize people want to see us drop another player. People want to see us hit a tough shot. They don't want to see us packaged to be what people deem in society as the most attractive thing for consumers to buy in on, to buy tickets. No, the biggest entry point for us in the game is literally our game. And so when we started taking control of that really on social media, now you're starting to see what we've seen in the NBA. A lot of players are outpacing their teams in branding. You can look on social media with the followership. Now, secondly, I think NIL, and I'm learning this, the last 2 years, I think NIL has truly helped the women's game in the sense that not only before it was just through our play, sensational March Madness that helped us get our marketability up. But now you have alliances with brands where brands now have a vested interest in helping you, move forward. No better example of this than probably Caitlin Clark and State Farm. Her having a relationship with State Farm where she's on commercials, they have a vested interest to get Jake from State Farm at her game. Now, mind you, Travis Scott should have dapped up. I don't know if you saw that. Travis Scott should have dapped up Maya Moore first, because that is the legend. And that is one person that I think is the hardest person I've ever had to guard in women's basketball, other than my sister, for the mental game.
Right.
But my point is just that you have brands that are now invested in uplifting the game too, on top of the players doing the work. And so that's the perfect storm for us to continue to grow. And I've noticed that in NIL, women show up, they deliver, they literally handle the deliverables. And these brands, it's like the popularity, the brands, the play, all are now working hand in hand to help uplift us in real time.
Let me transition back to the NBA because before I let you get on out of here, because I alluded to this before you came on the show today for the first time. You and I were discussing on First Take our day job on ESPN, my day job on ESPN. We ended the show by talking about Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Ant-Man himself, Anthony Edwards, and which young phenom you would rather start a franchise with and evolve your franchise around. Your answer was Luka, if I remember correctly. Tell our audience why.
So this is no knock on those other guys because I am a real believer in the trajectory that Anthony Edwards is on. And SGA, my goodness, what he's done so far this season. So many 30-point games. Almost every game is a 30-point game. He's making history there as a member of the OKC Thunder particularly. But I've got Luka because if you look at those two guys, SGA and Ant, they have teams that uplift them. They have teams that are constructed to help them win. I'm looking at Luka, who just came off of a 35-point triple-double for the 4th straight game. He is currently leading the NBA in points per game. Now, there are issues with his game, defense, a little bit. But if you look at the surrounding cast, that's been the biggest issue for the Mavs. How are you going to create a championship caliber team to maximize on a guy who's giving you MVP numbers every season? Those other two guys have that, and we know when it comes to postseason, Luka, if you give him the chance, he can take you there. It just feels like the Mavs haven't really had that, but it's hard for me to go against Ant, especially like as prisoner of the moment.
I got you. This is my thing. And by the way, Michael Wilbon's going to get you because he don't want to hear anything about Luka because Luka don't play defense. So he don't want to hear it. So Michael Wilbon, the Godfather, he's going to get at you, Sinead. He's going to get at you. Here's my answer to that question. If you're talking purely basketball, I'm looking at SGA because this brother is absolutely sensational and he's a model of consistency. We can't ignore that. His 30-point games, night in, night out, he's absolutely phenomenal. There's no question about that. But then I'm also thinking box office appeal. And even though Luka is, a European player, so you got that audience, in the end, I'm looking at Anthony Edwards, the skywalker that he is, the athleticism, the box office appeal. You saw him in the movie Hustle, really, really doing his acting and all of that stuff. That appeal is what I'm paying attention to. And I'm saying if you want purely basketball, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you want box office appeal, it's going to be Anthony Edwards. The reason why I would put Luka 3rd on that list, Sinead, 3rd on that list, is because I'm of the mindset of this. Luka is spectacular, but people turn, they spectate around him. He doesn't necessarily make everybody better. Shai Gilgeous makes others better. And others feed and galvanize off of Anthony Edwards because he does it on the defensive end. Luka doesn't. So you turn around and watch and marvel at him, but he doesn't necessarily make everybody better. My last question to you is, what do you make of that argument?
I can't argue against that. Maybe for me, I just see the killer in Luka, and I feel like we're sooner to see him get an MVP versus the other two guys.
Okay.
Like, I see Luka getting it first. Those other two guys probably will get championships first based off of how they get constructed. But it's International Women's Day, so I'm not here to argue or sweat against you, Stephen A. I'm here to have a good time, okay?
Right. Okay, well, since you're here to have a good time, I'll end. My very last question to you is that, somebody just said, they said, if you like it, put a ring on it, and the hubby, you got a boxer as the hubby, he put a ring on it, tied that knot, and all this. How's the married life? And tell us a little bit about you and the hubby. Could you do that, Sinead? Could you do that, please?
Okay, I guess out of anybody, I would give you an exclusive because what I always say is, this is what got me to that secret point. I believed in private until permanent. I kept everything private until I knew it was permanent.
That's right.
So I guess I'll give you an exclusive. I never talk about him publicly, but he's amazing. His name is Rafael. He is 17-1. He's a heavyweight boxer. And I know you into the boxing game. I would love for you to come with us to his next match, maybe soon. Okay. It could be in Miami, your city. But I am grateful because he's everything that I need and then some. And yeah, it's Nigerian too. So we got that whole African connection. So it's been nice.
And I noticed, he had to be a heavyweight. Notice you wasn't messing with no lightweight. You wasn't messing with some dude in the 140-pound division or the 150-pound division. You had to go out there and get a heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? So you want somebody that can beat up somebody. Is that fair to say?
Look, this might be horrible for me to say, and maybe I'm just spilling too much tea, but I always have this thought in my mind, and it might be problematic, but this is a safe space, even though I know Everyone comes for you, Stephen A. It's safe space. But I always had this idea that, like, if I ran and jumped, I need my man to catch me.
Right.
Like, so that was my standard outside of being smart, a man of God,
right.
someone culturally palatable. But I always had this thing in my head, like, so that doesn't mean he had to be taller than me, but he got to be athletic enough to catch me.
Right.
And let me tell you, he can catch me, throw me, turn me, twist me. Okay, this is too much.
Okay. Notice, somebody like, let's just say Stephen A. never had a chance. Y'all see that? Stephen A. never had a chance. Somebody run a catch. Would have been me. All right, Chiney, thank you so much for being on the show. Love you, girl. Happy for you.
Wait,
Proud
Stephen
of you. Go
A.
ahead.
Maybe Stephen A. before 2024 didn't have a chance, but you looking good, bro. But too late. Too late.
No. I didn't want it that way. You know, I want to be able to. You know, you want to be able to run. Somebody run and catch. You want to be able to catch it. You don't want to do it and just drop. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of weak. You're supposed to catch the one and just drop. But I'm fit now. I'm fit now. I must say that myself. Keep doing your thing. Proud of you. You know that. Love you to death.
Always.
Really appreciate it, all
love.
right? You take it easy, okay? We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
All right. The one and only Chiney Ogwumike right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube.